Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the MO2VATE interviews from the MO2VATE magazine. My name is Kim Langling. I am an author, a freelance writer, and a podcast host of Let Fear Bounce. But today I am here with my lovely guest, and we are both here on behalf of MO2VATE magazine. She submitted an article to MO2VATE, the 5th edition. And of course, she was chosen to have her article in there. So we are here to learn about her story, which is an amazing story during the pandemic. And I'm so happy to have her here. Today is Caitriona Ellis, and she comes to us from the Isle of Man. So welcome, Caitriona. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Kim, very much for that lovely introduction and for having me here today. I'm looking forward to it.
So I wanted to let's just get right into it. You have a mission, and it's empowering women to master their financial wellness. But you also have several other businesses. Do you want to, I want to hear about them. I want to at least name them off for me. You said you've got several businesses that you've got going right now.
Sure, and it's all part of the same kind of theme. So based off the back of what had happened last year during COVID, we had a vulnerability in terms of our income source was identified, and I took a number of actions to counter that. A number of those were based on my areas of interest and things that really I feel passionate about, and all in the sphere of wealth. So I'm running a company called MO2VATE, which works with women directly to empower them to master their financial wellness. And it does that in very easy, simple steps. It's often touted as something that's very complicated and you need to be a financial advisor or get professional advice to do. But I totally disagree with that opinion, and really feel that every single woman has the power within themselves, sometimes with a little bit of help, to actually totally master that. Off the back of that, with property being one of the asset classes that I cover, I have a number of property companies, one based in the Isle of Man and another one based in the UK. They are both, the UK company is building a portfolio in the Northeast as part of my personal wealth strategy with my long-term friend, and the Isle of Man one we are using to introduce people to an agent that we're working with in the Northeast. So that's a revenue-based business.
Wonderful. So you're very busy.
I'm busy, yes. I also have three children who I home educate, and we're in lockdown at the moment. And I'm single parent at the moment because my husband is a key worker, and he hasn't been home in nearly 2.5 months now. He can't get in with the current restrictions. So I've got a full plate, but it's good. You know, reduced time I find makes me more productive. I don't have hours to toil away thinking, you know, what should my logo look like or what should I do? I have a very short, succinct list of things to do every day, and I just bust through them. And, you know, that's the way it's. So to me, I take it, yes, it's a challenge, but I turn it and make it a positive that helps me actually be more productive.
You should have a story on that, how to be more productive.
Yeah.
Because it sounds like you've got it, sounds like you have it nailed down to a science.
Well, I'm not sure about nailed down science, but definitely being in this situation, I've honed a lot of things. Like one simple thing, I'm constantly saying it to friends, is I was never one for meal planning. I just found it quite a boring idea, and like, why would I do that? But when this happened, I was like, you know what, I actually really need something that's very systemized, and I do my shopping and everything is there. I don't need to go to the shop 5-6 times a week. I do my shopping once, my meals are planned out, my kids all agree with the plan, and it's very systemized. So I get up in the morning, and while I'm doing schoolwork with the kids at the table, I'm prepping lunch in the back, so it's all set up at the side. So then as soon as schoolwork is finished, I can hit the computer and start working. So the meal planning for me was a part that I introduced that I detested originally, but it saves me so much time and energy just having that plan. And it's easier for the kids. They know what's coming. There's no complaints, you know, so it was a really big time saving and energy saver for me.
Oh, and it sounds like it. So good on you. Good on you for getting that all in place. Now I want to get into your article that you shared in MO2VATE, and it's pretty powerful because during the pandemic, things kind of fell apart for you folks, your family, when that hit. Your husband was furloughed, or was he furloughed, or did he lose his job, or he's laid off? How did that work?
He was furloughed, which typically, if he was in Ireland or England, he would have received a state payment, which would have been sufficient to cover our essential expenses. However, we weren't in either of those locations. We were in the Isle of Man, which has its own jurisdiction in terms of taxes and government, etc. So we received £200 a week. For a family of five, that was absolutely totally insufficient to cover our mortgage, our food, and our basic utilities. So we really, it was quite a concerning thing to happen to us. Plus the fact that he was an airline pilot, and because the industry was in such free fall, we had absolutely no idea if he would maintain his job, and that's still a big question, because that's the ripple effects of this are going to go. We're going to be seeing them for some time to come, especially in his industry. So we had to take immediate action as to how we were going to counter this. Now, thankfully, because we'd spent the last 5 years, one of the reasons we moved to the Isle of Man was for tax, so we could save more, because the tax rate in Ireland, where we were previously living, was nearly 50%, and it was just we were just spinning our wheels, getting nowhere financially. So one of the key reasons we moved here was to save more. So we'd spent the last 5.5 years getting our finances in place, and so when this hit, despite the fact that it was devastating, and we really were knocked for six, because I don't think many people saw this coming. We had several layers of protection in place that we were able to turn to and go, you know what, okay, we didn't lose sleep at night. We knew we'd be okay, but we knew that we also needed to pull our fingers out and really get a plan B in place, because this had really exposed our vulnerability to having just one income. We had consciously made the decision a number of years back for me to resign from my corporate job, just after my eldest was born, and that was all fine, and I don't regret that for a single second, but it did create this situation for us. And now it just happened for us at a good time that my children are older now. They're 12, 10 and 8, so they were in the space where they didn't need my care all day every day. They were able to play by themselves for short chunks of time, so I could work. And so it was good timing. So I moved into mode then of, what are the options I can do? And property was one piece that I really had a strong interest in. We have a couple of buy-to-lets already at that stage in Ireland. So I was comfortable and familiar with how that worked, with managing tenants, etc. And we had actually, just before lockdown happened in the UK, my friend and I had been in the UK doing a 4-day intensive course, and had just gotten back here before the borders closed. So the property stuff was very fresh in my head. So it was a matter of, okay, how can I bring this to life? And we spent the subsequent months then figuring out how we could do that. But because we were based on the Isle of Man, we're an offshore island, and there are a lot of tax implications, etc. And money laundering is a huge issue, something they're very aware of here. So we had to go through a very lengthy registration process with the Financial Services Authority. It took us 5 months, and I also needed qualifications to become an estate agent, even though I was in a lot of situations just introducing a client to an estate agent. For me to serve in that purpose, I needed to be an estate agent, which I found absolutely frustrating at the time. But I thought, you know what, if you want to do this, then you're going to have to suck it up. So I completed my level 4 certificate in sale of residential property in record time of 2 months. I got exemptions from two exams based on my Bachelor of Commerce degree, and the other 4 I just nailed in 2 months. I wasn't hanging around. Every minute I had, first thing in the morning, last thing at night, all through the day, I was studying. And so I successfully passed those exams last month. And that was a huge relief. So then we were able to just go and actually start bringing income in. So it's been a hell of a ride, but it's been amazing. I'm as a female, I feel so much more fulfilled and happy in what I'm doing. I love my role as a mother, but they are needing me less and less now. So it was just perfect timing for me to actually step out and do this.
Now, I want to jump back to what you said about you finished your coursework in 2 months' time, which was record time. But in your article, you specifically say it typically takes 18 to 24 months to finish. Yep. So I want to make sure we pop that in there. 18 to 24 months typically to get through this course, and you did it in 2 months.
Yep.
That's amazing.
I distinctly remember the folders arrived on the 7th of October, which is my eldest son's birthday. And I did my last exam on the 8th of December, which is a day before my birthday. I didn't get my results until February, but to my mind, I did it in that time. It was 2 months. I've had friends who are subsequently trying to do them. They can't get the exams booked, but I was on such a mission that nothing was standing in my way. I rang that person who was looking after the exams being booked in. We had several issues with that. I was like a dog with a bone. I was not letting this go. This was of vital importance to me. And everybody I met were superbly helpful given the circumstances I found myself in. I wasn't just somebody sort of, dabbling in something. This was for my family. This was really important. And I really needed to sort this as soon as I could. So that just drove me. I had tunnel vision on it.
Yeah.
And I was with meeting a lot of super helpful people who helped me on my journey. So I was lucky.
No, that's amazing. I read that and I literally started clapping here in my office all by myself. It's like, go you. That was wonderful. I mean, good job on you for doing that. And like you had mentioned, you were tunnel vision because you were on a mission and you had that goal to reach. And it certainly sounds like you've reached that goal and you've been able to get so many things on track despite all of the frustrations that COVID has provided worldwide, actually, for everyone. And you had mentioned that living where you do on the Isle of Man makes things a little bit different because it's a different structure. So you had a lot of hurdles to overcome and you overcame them. And I think that's wonderful. I want to ask you, what kind of tip would you give to someone that might, and there's more than likely a lot of folks that are finding themselves in the same situation or very similar to what you and your husband have went through. What kind of tip would you give to someone that might be feeling overwhelmed in their home, or, both jobs may have been lost and they're trying to figure out just what to do? They feel overwhelmed. What kind of tip would you give those folks?
Well, I had that period when I got back, and I distinctly remember it. And even thinking about it now, I get upset because it was such an intense period of time. And for the initial probably 10 days after this hit, I was just on basic functioning because it was such a massive shock. And what I learned by myself, that was, there's no point in pushing at this point in time. Just pause, just rest and sleep and eat and just chill. And so I did that, and only that, until I got myself to a steady point where I felt, okay, now I feel calm somewhat and centered, and I can see possible avenues that I can go. But in that immediate flurry of absolute chaos and overwhelm, I just pressed pause because I thought, okay, I cannot deal with any more right now. I just need to replenish my batteries. And I exercised. That was one thing actually that got me out of bed every day, because some days I thought, I don't want to get out of bed. Like, what's the point? This is just disaster. And a lot of it's outside our control. So exercise was one thing I found was a massive piece that got me out of bed. It was a reason. We had a thing in the UK where there's a guy, I think he made it to the States too, called Joe Wicks, and he was doing exercise workouts for the world at 9 a.m. UK time. So that was my commitment to get out, and my kids were doing it. So I could not let three little people down by doing this. I just had to show up. And by repeatedly doing that 5 days a week, it was getting my happy hormones going. I felt better in myself. My energy was flowing better. And then we would take a daily walk in nature. And I would say those two things, coupled with sleeping, eating, and just taking the pressure off for now, until I felt like I was in a position of, okay, right, I think I can take a first step now in how we're going to resolve this. So that would be my tips, is just to press pause on it for now, to get yourself to a place where you feel like you can take a step, and just take it one step and then take it the next, and just, to try and step out from the overwhelm and see, well, okay, you don't need to see the whole staircase to get your solution right now. Just what's the next thing that you can do right now to help you out of this situation. And another amazing thing, which I was blessed with, was I was surrounded by very supportive people. So there was a lot of naysayers. There were a lot of people who would avoid me in the street, because at that stage I would just burst into tears. I was so overwhelmed with what was happening, and I was quite vocal on Facebook as to what we were experiencing. And a lot of people stepped away. They couldn't deal with it. But those people who did step up and were there for me, they were an absolute blessing, so that I could pour my heart out and bounce ideas off in certain cases, So surrounding myself with supportive people really helped me. And some of those people, one in particular, had massive faith in me that I could do it. And that was a huge turning point for me. Somebody saying, "You've got this," so they're my tips.
I love the one where you said, you know what, you've just got to pause. And you said approximately 10 days to do nothing but eat, sleep, and be, and you
Yeah.
started exercising and spending that extra time with your kids outdoors and such. That's so hugely important. And so many of us, when we get in that swirl, that's what I always liken it to, is a swirl. When things happen like that, because I lost my job during this pandemic, and for a couple of days, I will honestly say I was in a swirl thinking, what am I going to do? I'm my only income. What am I going to do? And I did the same as you. I just said, you know what? I'm just gonna let it sit and let it simmer for a few days. I've got to let all this just settle, get my mind in a better place to think about it. And so I did. I ate, slept, and took many, many walks with my dog. And people don't, you might, I think we forget at times just how important that is for us. And
Yeah.
I love that you said that was one of your tips and it helped you. And I know it could help many more. So thank you for sharing that and how it did indeed help you to get your mind back on track and that even keel, where you needed to be so you could make those right decisions, and that one step at a time. I like that vision, that mental image that you gave of you might not be able to see the entire staircase.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that picture in my brain that came up when you started talking about that. Is that something that you use when you're speaking to your clients, the women, and helping them with their finances and stuff? Is that a visual that you use with them, the staircase?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you have to, because I'm working with some clients at the moment, and it's exactly like that. They feel in total overwhelm. Finances are a mess. They don't know where to start, and we're just starting with little basic things. And now, a few weeks in, they can see, the light is starting to shine in, and things are starting to shift. But if you stretch too far, and we had a client recently who they wanted to see the difference between where they are now, where they want to be, was just absolutely massive, and they had no sense as to how they were going to bridge that gap, and that's often overwhelming. So you can either move the image back as to maybe create a milestone midpoint that's not quite such a stretch. It's a stretch, but it's not going to scare you and terrify you. And make it something that's within arm's reach, so that you give yourself some confidence and say, yeah, you know what, I've actually done this, and now I can do more. And it gives you more energy when, what's the expression, like when you get in flow with, and things are moving, and they're moving in the direction that you want them to do, then that speeds up the more confidence you gain with it. So it's making the little wins and celebrating the little wins. Yay, I've managed to sort out my expenses this month. Great. You had no clue what was happening last month, so now you've made some progress. It's those little baby steps. They're often overlooked because we've lots of people in the media saying, oh, I've achieved amazing goals, I've got my own private jet and yacht and whatever, and they're not relatable for everyday people. And I think when you chunk it down into those little steps, they really light people up, and they think, yeah, you know what, I can do this. And you think, absolutely, of course you can. You have got this. And it's just with little baby steps, just chunk it down.
And I like how you said it's not relatable to, just the normal person, because not everybody is living on that higher level, and making massive boatloads of money and doing this, and this. There are so many, especially solopreneurs and entrepreneurs, that they do each day. It's a baby step to reach that goal, and to pull that picture in. So you're only seeing those few steps. I like how you said, looking at it, you're seeing all of the steps. If you have that picture so far away from you, you're seeing all those steps, and that is overwhelming.
Yeah,
I love
absolutely.
that mental picture of, bringing the picture in closer. So you're only
Yeah.
seeing those first few steps, because those are the ones that you need to accomplish. And when you do, you should congratulate yourself, do a little happy dance. Doesn't matter if it was a baby step or not, it was a step.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, as the energy goes with it, I find myself on some weeks taking flights of stairs, 1, 2 flights at a time, because, it has that motion in going. My confidence is growing. and it's like, poof, or I hit one particular action step that catapults me like 2-3 floors up. And I'm thinking, yeah, okay, but that all started with one foot in front of the other,
Right.
and again and again, and that's it. That's how it goes.
And yet your momentum builds. Your
100%.
momentum, your confidence, your education level, that because you're learning as you go as well. That's wonderful.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
out of the whole thing, this whole picture that you've painted for us from the beginning of the pandemic. Now you said that your husband he's unable to get back to the Isle of Man due to restrictions. So he hasn't even been home for over 2 months, you mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
What type of toll has that taken on the family life for you and your kids?
It's probably most difficult for my youngest, who's just turned 8. The other two have a better comprehension of it, and they can mentally process it and deal with it a lot better. But my youngest is a little boy, and he really misses that rough and tumble. And I do that with him when I can, but I'm not available on a daily basis to do it with him and to do Nerf gun wars and all that fun stuff. So he really misses that. He really misses having that male figure in his life on a daily basis, which is what he's been used to having. He had his birthday the other day, and his dad couldn't get home, which it sucked. It's the first birthday he's ever missed with him. He would always take leave and have that day off, but that was out of his hands. So it's been particularly tough on him. And from my perspective, I think I've just taken it. There have been moments all the way through this journey where, just nearly a year now, where I've fallen apart, and I just can't do it, and I have to step back into that replenish mode and just put everything to the side, get myself back again, and go. So, but on the flip side, then I see it as my resilience has increased massively. And I've set things up in a way now. A lot of things have changed in our house. That the kids, I used to do bed with them every single night. That's our routine in our house. They don't just disappear upstairs to bed. We do cuddles and chat and stories, and that's our bedtime routine. But I've pulled that back now, so I do that 4 nights a week instead of 7, which gives me a little bit of a breather in the evening. So we've had to adjust. The kids also are stepping up much better and more to help me out with different things. They can see, that my workload has increased substantially, and they've really, really helped. They've been a massive help in making it easier. So it's really been kind of about open communication with all of us and saying, okay, look, this is how it is. There's not much we can do. And they actually, have come up with different suggestions as well. Well, how about we do this or this? And, we've actively worked together how we can make it work, the circumstances that we're in right now, so that it works for everybody, not just one person.
Right. So it's been a heck of a process, and you've found your groove the best that you can in these trying circumstances, and you have blossomed personally as as well as with your businesses and such. So take heart, folks that might be watching this or listening to this, and you feel like you are stuck in the muck. It is possible. It is possible with, resilience and a little bit of courage thrown in there. You got to throw the courage in there, but, buckle down, and there are ways that you can climb out of this. And your story is very inspirational. So I thank you for sharing it in the magazine and sharing it with me today as well.
Thank you. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to share it, Kim.
It was lovely to speak with you. So as we wrap this up, I'm going to screen share real quickly here about MO2VATE magazine. MO2VATE, it is the Small Business Bible, and it is the magazine that is for micro and small business owners. It is the go-to business Bibles written by small business owners for small business owners. So folks, check out MO2VATE magazine, subscribe to it. It's very minimal cost for a yearly subscription, and you will not be disappointed. MO2VATE magazine. Again, thank you so much, Caitriona, for being with me today and for sharing your story in MO2VATE magazine, as well as on this medium here. It was an absolute pleasure to meet you.
And likewise, thank you, Kim.
Take care.
Bye-bye.